When is full self-drive level 3, 4 or 5? Confused? I'm Dave, welcome to Dave Takes It On and welcome to our Friday night regular slot for all the latest news and views from around the world. And on autonomy and full self-drive, I hit the headlines big time this week. When is full self-drive actually full self-drive? You see, Mercedes claimed to be the first licensed in the USA to have autonomous level 3 driving. Tesla claim level 2, even though they call it full self-driving, and Waymo actually have driverless cars, but only claim level 4 autonomy. What's going on? Well, let's have a look at the levels, because level 0 is just full manual control, the human performs everything, no automation. Level 1, driver assistance featuring a single automated system, such as speed control. Level 2 is partial automation. Vehicle can perform steering and acceleration, but humans still needed to monitor it, take over if necessary. Level 3, conditional automation. This is environmental detection capabilities. The vehicle can perform most tasks, but human override is required. Level 4, high automation. The vehicle performs all driving tasks under certain circumstances. Geofencing is required, human intervention is an option. Level 5, the vehicle performs all driving tasks under all conditions, zero human intervention or attention is required. So what do they mean? Are they accurate? See, drivers can activate now legally Mercedes technology called Drive Pilot when certain conditions are met, including in heavy traffic jams, during the daytime on specific California and Nevada freeways, and when the car is traveling less than 40 miles an hour. So the driver can focus on other activities until the vehicle alerts them to resume control. Technology does not work on roads that haven't been pre-approved by Mercedes, including on all freeways in other states. Well, so Mercedes only in traffic during the daylight, specific freeways, less than 40 miles an hour. That's hardly level 3 autonomous driving, but Tesla claim level 2 autonomy, yet they hit the headlines all the time with their drivers. One recently had a heart attack. The car actually drove him to the hospital with no interference or intervention. Countless other Model 3 owners post YouTube's videos showing hour-long drives with no driver input. So what's going on? There's a huge blurring of lines here. In my opinion, and you need to comment on this yourself, in my opinion, if the car is only limited to 40 miles an hour, can only work in daylight, not nighttime, and has to be on set roads for set period of times before it'll just switch off and tell you to take over, that to me, which is level 3 licensed, does not sound as good as Tesla's level 2, where people literally have been arrested for being in the back seat while the car drives itself. Seems strange, really. And then you've got Waymo and Cruise with absolutely driverless vehicles, and they are in level 4, which means no driver required, but they have to be ring-fenced. So it's quite a mess we've got out there. Let me just separate a couple out of this for you straight away. Ring-fencing. With ring fencing, what the owner does, owner of the car or the designer of the system, is they go out with sensor-laden cars and they will plot a whole route, let's say a 10-mile stretch of the motorway. It will track it down to every millimetre or micrometre in the journey. So it will have LiDAR, which is a radar using light. It will have radar. It will have ultrasonic. It will have cameras. It will have all sorts of stuff, GPS, maps, everything on it. And what the pre-mapping is the car will drive up and down that motorway, backwards and forwards, driving in different lanes each time until it's mapped every single millimetre of that route. That information is then fed into the car, and that car must also be equipped with all the sensors. So it must have LiDAR, radar, cameras, ultrasonic, GPS and everything else. So that means that when you put that car on that particular road, it takes a look around itself and it goes, I know exactly where I am. And it can drive that car then. Now, if you get to a parked car, for example, it will recognise, we hope, that it's a parked car. And what it will do is say, well, if this lane is blocked, what's the next lane I can take? And so it jumps on that lane and off it goes, and so on and so on. And it will go backwards and forwards between the lanes. As long as there's a route through somewhere or other, it will usually find its way through. One of the big problems arises when there isn't a route through. So, for example, you're driving down the road and there's a big sign up ahead, road flooded, diversion. Well, it can't go on one of the routes it's pre-mapped because it's only got this road or series of roads in its memory. So as soon as a diversion says turn off the road, car has no idea. And this is why that system, the pre-mapping, will only ever get up to level 4. Because it is always got to be ring fenced. It can't drive on a road that it hasn't plotted. So the limitation with that system is the ring fencing itself. Now, ring fencing is brilliant as long as everything's working. So when Waymo have a level 4, it's actually a very good system, generally. It will be able to drive along predetermined routes. It doesn't need a driver in the car at all, either legally or as a requirement, because it needs a driver to do something. So this is as high as this one's going to go. What Mercedes has launched is what I would call a very restricted, conditional level 2. In other words, if it's nighttime, it can't drive. If you're doing... Who does 40 mile an hour on a motorway or a freeway? Only when you're in heavy traffic, and it needs heavy traffic because it needs to monitor itself against the car in front. So although they're Mercedes the first, they got a license for level 3 autonomy, unless you live on in one of these 2 states and drive on one of the few roads that are actually pre-mapped, this is useless to you, absolutely useless. So I'm not entirely sure what the benefit of this is, but there they go. What Tesla's done is the other way round, and what Tesla have said is we don't want to pre-map the route because when you jump in your car and go driving, you don't need that route to be pre-mapped. If you jumped on a plane, went to your friend's house in a different country, and he said, here are my car keys, drive down the town, down the bottom of the road, turn right, turn left, you'll be in the supermarket or whatever. You could do it. Now, you might be driving on the wrong side of the road, you might not be used to his car, but you don't need to know what the route is in advance. And if you've got sat-nav, you don't even need your friend telling you down the bottom of the road, turn right, turn left. What you would do in those circumstances, rather, would be to look at your sat-nav and just follow what the sat-nav tells you. So there's a huge difference in those two. And who gets first to a level 1, 2, 3 or 4? Absolutely irrelevant. Because in time, level 4 will be superseded. It might be 6 weeks. It might be 60 years. I don't know when. But at some point, they will realise you cannot map the whole of the roads in the whole of the world. Your computer size would be bigger than a skyscraper. It's ridiculous. So this has limitations. And the other problem it has is it has to be constantly remapped. So, for example, if someone comes along and the bus stop, someone bashes into the bus stop and destroys it, and 2 weeks later the council comes out and they replace the bus stop with a different model, the pre-mapped parked car will go drive down it and go, what's that? That's not in my map. And this is where you get the confusion. It's still a bus stop. We can see it's a bus stop, but the everything that all the sensors will tell it, it's different. It's not what I thought. And we'll then have a conflict. It'll have maybe radar saying, yeah, there's still a bus stop there, but the camera saying, this is blue and it used to be yellow. So you have to constantly remap them. So there's a little bit of it's a false battle, really. Level 2, 3 or 4, doesn't matter what you've got, it's not where we're going to be. Where we're going to end up is level 5. And that's exactly what we're heading for at the moment. And that's all the headline news. We're going to come back onto this in just a minute. But if you enjoy watching or listening to our regular news features, then please subscribe and click the notification bell so that you don't miss one. Well, Nissan finally gets serious at the Shanghai Motor Show with a new 16 model EV range, bold and dynamic. See, the Leaf never really excited enough people, nor the Aria. It was never a total success. Now they want to go mainstream, and Honda following close behind after a slow start. Just Toyota left to try finally take the plunge. Doesn't look like they're doing anything anytime soon. They seem to have just given up and they're just going for the hybrids. They know them rather well, so they're quite happy with them. Time will tell whether they got the right plan or everybody else. Okay, Chinese EV maker Chery, Chery, they're doing deals with Stellantis companies, but not with Stellantis. They're doing deals with European EV makers, but not with the EU Commission. The EU Commission wants the tariffs back to stop the Chinese coming in. The Chinese are doing deals with Fiat and Alfa Romeo and Seat and several others again, individual deals. And yet Stellantis is trying to stop them doing it because they see the Chinese coming in as a threat to the Stellantis group. Well, that's really weird. Nobody seems to know what's going on. And now they're starting to do deals with an EV van brand, which is B-on. And that's designed to get Chery and B-on together to get access direct to Europe and USA with a new joint venture van. It's 1.5 tons, 140-mile range, and it's going to suit some local deliveries. You see, not everyone drives hundreds of miles up and down the motorway every day. That one's coming on sale in summer 2024 this year. I mentioned earlier on about listening, and many people listen to our videos like podcasts. So we're running our very first podcast style video exclusively for our Patreon members. As a member, they get to see these videos first, and some of them that we never launch on YouTube. If you're interested, click the details and the link down below. Well, in the meantime, Tesla shares crash, but recover. Wow. I have to say that if you're a Tesla investor, I am, not a big one, I've got thousands of shares, but if you're a Tesla investor, you're not after safety and security and stability in the financial market. You're not after a 3.4% return on your investment. That's not what you get the shares for. If you want that sort of security, go and buy government bonds or gilts, which give you a guaranteed return on your money backed up by the government. What Tesla and a lot of other tech companies and startup companies and EV companies and all sorts of modern companies, what they offer is excitement. You've got no idea what your shares are going to be worth tomorrow. Give you an idea, my shares at the beginning of last week were running, I think it was $168 a share. When they announced their Q1 results, they crashed to $148. And then a couple of days later, when they announced that the newspapers announced that they're cancelling the Tesla Model 2, the Redwood, they crashed another whatever percentage, and they dropped down to $140. Now you've got to remember, at the peak, these were up over $300, so this is pretty serious stuff. But I'm going to have a look today, and you know what they are? 168 again. You get these wild swings, and the problem with wild swings is at any time you can have one that will go from $140 up to $500, or it'll go from $140 to $20. There's no guarantees, there's nothing like that. So when you're investing in the likes of, and this is not investment advice, it's my advice to me, if I'm investing in Tesla shares, it's because that is spare money I don't need. It's money I would have used for a holiday or a new TV or something, and I'll just buy one or two shares. And I expect to lose the money. I don't need it, I expect to lose it. If those shares I buy, and I bought some shares when the shares last year crashed down to 120, I bought some back then. So 140 today is a nice profit for me. So what I have is a situation where this money, I've written it off in my mind. It would have gone on a holiday. I've spent it, gone. And these shares I've written off in my mind. They're still there though. And if these shares one day suddenly go up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times what I paid for them, absolutely brilliant. I'll go and buy myself a car and I'll get a really nice holiday. If on the other hand they crash down to nothing, I was expecting to lose it anyway. And so that is my personal secret for investing in Tesla shares. Never invest money in volatile shares like Apple, like Meta, like Tesla, like BYD, and speculative ones, all these recent startups. Hold them for the long term, buy them when you've got some spare money. Only invest in companies that you think are going to succeed. No guarantees, but you need to have a real belief that they are going to guarantee, and you have to have a belief that they have got something that the competitors don't have. So I'm not going to go into why exactly, but that's my philosophy. And so I've still got shares and I will hold them for a little while longer. That was the original plan, and we'll see what they do when my plan, which was a 5-year plan, comes to an end. And at that point I will see whether they have grown or shrunk. If they've shrunk and I don't need the money, I'll just leave it in there and hope it'll grow again. So when is Volkswagen a Volkswagen? See, Volkswagen are launching a new car. It's called their ID code, and they're aiming it squarely at the Chinese market. Not for Europe. This is for the Chinese market that they lost when the Chinese buyers stopped buying Volkswagen IDs of all numbers, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever number you care to mention. So this is a brand new model, but it's made in collaboration of several Chinese manufacturers, including XPeng. It's not a merger because there's loads of them in it. They get different companies in for different things. But let's have a guess who's going to be designing it. Let's have a guess who's going to be making it. Let's have a guess who's going to be marketing and selling it in China. And let's have a guess, it's probably not Volkswagen. It looks to me very much like they've just bought into a company, financed them and said, get on with it and just send us the profit. Well, if it works for them, that's great. And if some of those models can come back into Europe and the good models, that's probably even better. Doesn't do a lot of good for the German auto workers, though. Just saying. Okay, Mini launches the new Aceman. This is their first EV, which is only available as an EV. There's no petrol or hybrid equivalent. At long last, it's looking more like a Mini. It's small. EVs this price are, and as small as the Mini name suggests. Its range is a passable, not exciting 250, which means 180 to 200 in the real world. And it's looking as though it's going to be a little bit of a popular car. They're thinking it's going to be around about the 25,000 mark, which is right at the top end of where this sort of car, not saying that in a derogatory sense, but if it's a Mini or a Fiat 500 or a Citroen C1, these should be down in the sub 20,000 euro or pound range. This one is, it's a bit on the high side for me. Probably quite a nice car, looks like a traditional Mini. Yeah, we'll see what it's looking like. By the way, if you like these videos, please click the like button. It really does make a big difference to a young channel like ours. Well, Stellantic baffles even themselves. Oh, what are they doing? See, while Fiat, which is part of Stellantic, negotiate mergers with Chinese Chery, Carlos Tavares, the CEO, wants tariffs to keep out China, and Opel, which is also a Stellantic group, launches their Grandland. That's the first made on the new Stellantic STLA platform. So Stellantic are making a brand new EV platform. Tavares is saying he doesn't think EVs are going to succeed. We should go back to hybrids. And if you are going to do EVs, don't do it with the Chinese. It reminds me of a pop group. Oh, this is showing age now. Way back in the 70s, glam rock. There was a group there called Sweet, and they were sweet. So it's a song of theirs, and it's still in my mind today. And here's the lyrics that might interest you. This is the chorus. Does anyone know the way? Did we hear someone say? We just haven't got a clue what to do. Does anyone know the way? There's got to be a way to build EVs. Yeah, that's a bit of fun. Well, in the meantime, Tesla Model 2 is cancelled. No, it isn't. It's back on again. In fact, not only back on, but it's launching now ahead of schedule. They were talking about delaying it until late 2025 for a variety of reasons I'm going to come back to. But now they've announced it's probably going to be late 2024. It's not very many months left, and this could be hitting the roads. It's certainly going to be in mass production in 2025. And when it launches, it could be in a real heavy race with robotaxis. See, both of those are built on exactly the same totally new platform, and that is manufactured in a totally new cost-cutting way. Well, this is a really clever move. See, as an investor, if you've got one production line that can make 6 different models, you just change the body or the seating or something, that's a really low-cost vehicle. You can hit mass production. So as an investor, what I'm looking for is robotaxis. And Elon has announced a robotaxi launch for Tesla on the 8th of August this year. Why am I for robotaxis? Well, just think about the business side of it. If he sells a Model 2, he probably makes $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. I don't know what the figure is, but it's somewhere in that region. He gets his money back and he gets a profit of $3,000. That goes in the bank and that allows him to expand. If you put a robotaxi on the road and they work, then he can make up to $20,000 per year per robotaxi. So in the first year you make it, you don't get your money back because you keep hold of it yourself as a robotaxi, but it can earn you up to $20,000 a year. And that's not all from fares. You see, if he's got a fleet of 1 million robotaxis, he will have somewhere an automated supercharger just for these things. And all of these cars will be V2G compatible. That simply means you can plug into the charger to charge it, and while it's charging, you can buy and sell electricity. You buy it when it's cheap and you sell it back when it's dear, acting as a mini grid. So when they're not earning money out on the road taking fares, they'll actually be earning money trading electricity, and that is big business these days. So Tesla has no need to sell any. They can afford easily to build and operate 1 million or several million themselves, because by the time they've done 1 million, the first lot will have paid for themselves just about, if all goes well, and they'll be on a profit then for the next 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is. In the early days, they're able to undercut taxi prices by probably way more than half, and they're going to buy their way into the market. Simple as that. Because what he can do, he can also launch an instant few million without manufacturing a single one. Now, this is the key difference. We talked about autonomy and robotaxis before, but the key difference between what Tesla's trying to get full self-driving to be and what the pre-mapped ones are is that with Tesla, any car is made that has a computer above a certain power can become a robotaxi. You don't need LiDAR, radar, camera. You don't need the lot. You just have whatever the factory puts in them, few cameras. They've even stopped the radar. They stopped the ultrasonic. All they got is cameras and a computer. And you think about it, that's all I've got. I've got 2 cameras, 1 computer. And the difference with me is I can't look behind me while I'm looking forward. If you've got 8 cameras or 16 cameras, they can look all around you. Well, no one's looking forward. So what Tesla is going to do, he is going to go to his existing owners of Teslas, and he's going to say, you don't use your car about 80% of the time. It's parked. It's either parked outside work or it's parked outside your house. If you're not using it, can Tesla borrow it and just slot it into the robotaxi fleet? So if someone in your immediate area goes on the app and asks for a robotaxi, and this will be exactly the same way you book an Uber, then all that will happen is it'll find the nearest one is actually yours, and it'll have a record in it to say this car won't be needed till 9 o'clock next morning. And so it'll take that car and it will go down, it will pick up the new customer, set off, take them where they're going. If there's no other fares, it'll come back to your house. So by using that existing, the 6 million cars on the road, probably 5 million of those are capable of just getting a software over-the-air update for full self-driving, and today they could actually be robotaxis. Of those 5 million that can do it, there's probably 1 million people would never do it in their lifetime. They need the cars all the time. They're out on the road, they're working, whatever it is, and they can't spare it. Or a case could be, a family where the wife drops the husband off at work, then she goes on, drops the kids off, then she goes on to her job, and then later on someone will pick up the kids, and that car's in use all the time. But there's probably a good couple of million cars that are just sat there at any one time. And what Tesla will offer you is a share of the revenue. So if it's used as electricity trading, you'll get possibly a share of that. But if used as robotaxi, you'll definitely get some of that. So this is one huge advantage, and this is why I believe that approach to robotaxis is the correct one, because if you look at Mercedes, for example, if tomorrow the government said to Mercedes, right, your system now is full self-driving, you can go anywhere in the world and use your car, they've got two problems. First of all, they can't, because it's only ring-fenced or pre-mapped routes, so they can't go everywhere. And secondly, only people who have those cars with LiDAR, radar, ultrasonics and everything on it could actually use it. All the other Mercedes owners, the EQAs, the EQBs, the EQS, etc., they can't do it. So, bit of a hindrance. If you said to Tesla tomorrow, right, you can use your cars in full self-driving in the whole of the world, I guarantee you 30 seconds there'll be a software update, and every single car built after a certain date with a certain computer and upwards will become capable of being a robotaxi. And whether you use it yourself as a robotaxi and don't charge yourself, or whether you put it into the Tesla fleet, doesn't really matter. It'll become a robotaxi. So why do I like robotaxis rather than cars? Well, if you are worried about sales slowing down, the media's talking about crashing and going bust and everything else, you're having to constantly lower prices to balance demand and production, world recessions, interest rates and everything else, that's crazy when you could just make a robotaxi and you don't care about any of that. You see, you're not going to sell one. You keep hold of them, they're yours, and you'll just put them out on the road. And they will go out and they'll earn money, and that's it. It's simple as that. So you're actually not involved in the recession. So that's going to get rid of an awful lot of worries that an awful lot, and this includes the legacy automakers, are going through at the moment, having major problems with slowing down in sales. But although I prefer robotaxis, what if full self-driving is not working, or they can't be licensed yet? Well, because these cars are made on exactly the same platform, on exactly the same production line, by this exciting new method, it doesn't matter. Someone at the beginning of line presses, no robotaxis today, we're on £25,000, $25,000 mini cars. And all day long, the factory will turn those out, and you can guarantee that if the Model Y, which is a $50,000 car, became the world's best-selling car, you can imagine what these at $25,000 are going to do. This is going to be way and above the best-selling car in the whole world. Customers, meanwhile, so close-minded, all they want from a company is cheap EVs, even if someone makes a loss selling them and has to cut prices. Talk about conflict between customers and investors. Well, thanks very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this, remember, please subscribe, click the notification bell so we can contact you when we do release videos. For those of you interested, have a look at our Patreon page. The details are down below. Patreon members get a lot of goodies. You've heard about the first of the podcasts. That will not be released on YouTube ever. That's just for Patreon members. And there are other things, like we are now inviting specific Patreon members when we're in an area filming to come on along on a one-on-one basis and meet us while we're filming. It can't be done on a mass meeting, and we will be doing those. We've got a couple planned up in Scotland. We've got another one planned down in the Essex area. We will be doing that. We love those because people turn up, we can all chat around, chat with each other. They are great, but they absolutely destroy any filming for that day. So they're not productive from that sense. If a Patreon member would like to join us for a couple of hours at a specific location where we're going to be filming, we can involve them in it if they want that. They can stand and watch. We can talk in between when we're shooting, and it's a much more personalised experience. So have a look at the Patreon page. It might attract a few people, maybe not. If it does, just click the link below, fill in the form, and away you go, and you'll have access as well. Thanks for watching. I'm Dave.